So,
You got
hi,
being live.
hi, I'm Lindsay Rice, and welcome to our online reading for Whispering Prairie Press. We are very excited to have some really great poets today and some music, if our technical difficulties will abate. And we have a new magazine, Kansas City Voices magazine. Our new volume just came out, and we're really excited about it. It is for sale. You can find it on our website or through Facebook. But it's a beautiful magazine with lots of wonderful art and poetry and prose. We are also really excited about Kansas City Voices Youth Magazine. We just opened submissions for area high school students to submit pieces of writing, prose, poetry, and also art. So we're really looking forward to getting that going. Today we have several poets with us, and we have some music, if our music can show up here. This is kind of how it goes, you know, with these days, and trying to learn how to connect through this new platform. So we're all kind of learning, and we wanted to create a space where people can just come together and we can support the arts and enjoy time. So let me see if Riley, are you there? Can you hear us? Maybe not yet. So let's see, our organization, Tom, do you want to tell? So I'm the president of Whispering Prairie Press. Tom is the previous president, and he's going to tell you a little bit about the organization.
Okay, sure. So Whispering Prairie Press is a nonprofit organization, community group that came together some time ago. In, I think mid 90s was when they first created, and it was a bunch of people who were involved with the Kansas City Writers Group, which is a still existing group out there. But Whispering Prairie Press kind of came out of that and became its own thing. And for a number of years, they published anthologies of poems from local people. And then in 2003 is when Kansas City Voices first started up. And now we've just published volume 15, which Lindsay is holding up. I've got one here too. It's ready. It's available to purchase. We have a button for that. Probably several of them now. We've been working on upgrading things, and so you can get your copy. It's got a number of local artists and poets and writers in there. Anyway, the group, as Lindsay asked me to explain, is a community group. So we're totally independent. So it's the volunteers who do everything. So that includes, you know, writing grants and organizing meetings and recruiting people with various talents.
Yeah.
And I'm really grateful to have Lindsay on board now as the president. She's doing a bang-up job so far, and it was a good move for us, I think.
I think I hear Riley, his music. Are you there,
Yeah.
Riley? You don't see him. Hi, Jose, welcome. So let's see, we might wait for Riley's music. Jose, if you'd like to start reading, that would be wonderful.
Sure. These are all pretty new, so you have to bear with them. I don't know where they're going, really, honestly. Blue dog. Blue whiskers convulse, expand, drip sheets, languid quavers of oscillating prismatic night. Primal snorts ruffle the calm, the blue city, light and mountains. Deeper in the dimness, the purple faces of banded horsemen suffer bright in the indigo dusk, the sullen moon. While they shelter among the reeds, a cool breeze dithers on a blue metal pond as the buffet of hoofs ripples up the dark azure. So I will continue with another one.
Yeah, please.
All right. This is really just coming up now. No titles, I have no idea. The postman came by today, brought no mail in his bag. We went for a walk instead. A hawk in the Virginia pine, seconds later, fled in haste, a jay on its tail and hide. The path in the park winds to a walled-up cave. A cairn with pink brick on top mimics a wheelbarrow. Down the hillside above the lake, a fire hydrant tilts on a good acre. I'm easily distracted. Shape went out of the days. It had been threatening for weeks. What was robust, if begrudging, sags around an anchorless middle, flexed and preened in wrong ways, tries to make a case it still cares. Tuesday is quite the slug. Bloated now, it wiggles in place, doesn't walk, just rolls over, shames and laughs at the dog. Wednesday shouts for a second, something about yesterday purpose and sky-high hope, strokes where his hump was. Thursday mutters things and plans for any weekend, makes lists no longer on paper, stores them in plastic cubbies with old screws, buttons, keys, pins, and thimbles of lint. Measured equal parts, Friday and Saturday, no peppy, perky, and bright coffee, drapes pulled back, cold blue routine, lists, blueprints, dreams on gridded sheets, chat, screenshots in a stained glass, cover the wood floor and the clock. I sleep late, find Sunday asleep, cover it with plastic and store it away, a bag full of Sundays and just barely Monday. And then this one is, I don't know, it seems appropriate. Kind of in the mood of being a little down, I guess. It's from my book, The Lives and Times of Jose Calderon. It's called Why I Don't Sing. In an instant, I saw you disappear. You became a figment, an accident of arrival or departure. I pretended to see you grow through etched mirrors, you a student of music, I a failed mural painter, years before I touched the brush. I remember goodbye, wild-eyed and tousled hair, your hands in my pockets, your teeth tight till the gums bled into your thirsty mouth. Any moment I feared your mouth would open and bathe this desert. When you started singing, I slipped into the cafe, a crowd gathered, and I lost my way. The absence of you finds me an unconnected leaf, dropped from branch, cut from root, expelled from seed, faded, colorless to earth. Don't come back now to see the lines years have etched on my face, to see the pounds fears have grasped about my waist. I have not been a painter of life. Life has made me its canvas, and I began to peel, watch the color fade. I, who always sang off key, heard you singing in the street and slipped away. I don't know, am I done?
Um, Jose, I wanted you to let everyone know that what you're doing on Facebook too. You've been reading a poem every day.
Yeah,
So many people have loved that. Can you tell us about that project for yourself?
well, it wasn't really a project. It was, I mean, well, it was April 1st and we'd already been under kind of a lockdown or quarantine for about a week in Kansas City. And I don't know, I just felt compelled to read a poem. And I came upon Proof Rock, which has always been one of my favorite poems.
Yeah.
And so I read it. I read it to myself all the time, but I read it out loud. And I got such big response for it. So people asked me if I would read some more. So I said, oh, I'll do it as long as I can stand to do it. And now it's like, I think I did 25 days already. It's been one going on. And it's for Poetry Month, but I'm getting people asking me to go further, and I don't know if I have the energy. Maybe
It's
as
so
long
great
as the
though.
quarantine lasts, I don't know.
We've really been enjoying it. Thank you for
Well,
that.
thank
And
you.
thank you
No,
for
it's been
reading for
enjoyable.
us today.
Uh,
Please hang out and keep
yeah,
listening.
I'll hang out for a bit here, sure.
Okay, thank you. So I think we have a little bit of music. We're going to have Riley play some music. We can unmute him and then he's going to play a little bit of music for us for a few minutes. Hi, Riley. He's outside looking like a cowboy. Okay, I think he's ready to go. Maybe. Hey, Riley, are you there? I think he's frozen. Um, this is what happens. It just like you think you're going to do one thing and then it doesn't totally work out like that. But we keep trying. Oh, there we go. We can kind of hear. I think there's a little bit of a lag on his video. Um, I think we might switch it up, Riley, until that. Hey, Riley, maybe we're gonna have you come back in a little bit and play some more a little bit later because it's a little lag on the sound. So we're gonna mute you for now, and we have another poet. I'm gonna wait till okay. So we have another poet who's actually from New Mexico, and she's a very old friend of mine. I'm really excited that she's joined us. She has just put out a book of poetry. And Kais, can you unmute yourself and maybe join us and tell us a little bit about your new book and read a few poems for us?
Hello, everybody.
Hey.
How's that connection? Is the sound okay? And
Yes.
so my daughter's practicing her violin in the other room because I thought I had 3 more minutes. So I'm hoping she stops. It's great to be here. What a great event. And it's just beautiful to see poets in their homes and hear their words. And thank you for bringing us together. So yeah, I'm from New Mexico, beautiful Santa Fe, springtime here, and I'm grateful for every day. I'm a nurse, I work in a hospital, so it's been quite a season, I know, for all of us in our own way. And I had a couple poems that I thought I'd share that have come out of this time, and then, where did I put my book? And then one from my book, Refugia, that I'll read later. All right. This first poem is called The Thin Line, and it came out of a story, well, you know, it came from many different directions, but one of the threads in it is from the New York Times. There was an article on how to prepare for the complete end of the world, and it was about groups of like back to the landers, like neo back to the landers who were really just trying to live with like their pocket knife in the forest, you know, learning all the primitive skills. And you know, it's always fascinating to read about people living on the edges. So they wove their way in. The Thin Line.
Yikes. No, I have no idea what's
Uh-oh.
going on. It sounds so difficult.
Restricted, more and more restricted, more severe.
Yeah.
Should I go? I don't know what's happening. Yes? Okay, I have no idea, but I'm gonna jump in unless someone shakes their head. Okay, The Thin Line. Oh good, we have a dog. Stock trading halted by noon. Airplanes grounded soon after. In an encampment in the forest, a hunter napping arrowheads says, "There is a hole where elders used to be." The thin line of honking birds overhead could be geese, but are sandhill cranes. I now gauge whom to trust by who can tell the difference. My daughter hears it won't be children who die. She says, "So kids will be the doctor? Kids will be the teachers?" And in the pause between her question and "No, no, of course not," that future lifts its head to gaze at me. At their compound in the woods, the hunters sleep under bark and pine boughs. They don't have guns or zippers. They say that needing each other and being needed is better even than a grocery store. They hold hands and look at the stars and think how once each one was named, and how now, or sometime soon enough, when we've forgotten what to call them, they can be named again. Thank you. All right, next poem is called Quarantine. I mean, I might be one of the rare exceptions, but to me, this has been the sweetest season ever. It's maybe my ideal, aside from having to go to the hospital and, deal with that. It's been a complete respite, and I feel like we've taken off our masks. My kids are happier. There's a lot less stress. I mean, we're very, very blessed to be safe and have enough. And I have just taken it as a little bit of a retreat, not a writing retreat, but maybe a soul retreat from the world. And so here's to it. And I think we're, at least here in New Mexico, we're at the center of it. Like if you've walked into the spiral, we're at the middle, and we're going to start walking out soon. It's going to be time to get back to the world, but we're not quite there yet. So I'm trying to really just sit in the center of it right now and just savor whatever it is there is to experience from this. All right, quarantine. At dawn on the third day, the crescent moon, crowned by Mars and Jupiter, hangs in the pale dawn like a steer head with two dazzling horns. Celestial bodies circle day and night. Their wide net, shifting by degree, catches us in the form of mood and fortune. For night has its own silhouette, its own tree limbs against sky, its own unseen raccoons. But so do I. My breasts grow heavy when the moon wanes. My dreams are all wells and ditches, streams running over. We surface at dawn, scan the sky for stars before they disappear, then summon each other on the telephone and in recollection. Each of us crouches like a bell in the tower, untouched by even the slightest wind. Other messages fail to reach us. Even after all, the river reflects nothing when it isn't wet. Even sand, which I once could read, moves in patterns of wind-swept rest. Thank you.
Thank you so much for reading. It's so great to hear your work. Please stay with us.
Okay.
So next, we're really excited because we have Dylan from Wise Blood Bookshop, which is on Broadway in Kansas City, Missouri, and he is going to tell us a little bit about what they're doing. Dylan, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Hi, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This is really cool. Yeah, it's great to be here. And so yeah, I manage Wise Blood Books in Kansas City. I think a lot of folks who are on this call right now have been in through the shop and see some friends and other familiar faces. And yeah, we doing what we can. We're of course closed to the public right now, but still doing shipping and taking orders, placing orders pretty much like every day to bring books in for folks. So we're taking email orders, social media orders, and shipping, especially locally, is like typically like a 1 to 2 day thing through the post office. So we're doing everything we can right now. So reach out to me if you're looking for anything specific and want to support a small business, a very young local business during this time. We're really just getting going before all of this kind of hit and sort of change the way that everybody does everything. So really excited to be here.
And you are carrying our magazines too.
We are, yeah. That was another thing. So I still have copies. You sorry about that. You came through and dropped copies off right before we had to shut down, which is kind of a bummer. But we do have copies of the most recent Kansas City Voices and a couple back issues that I can definitely get in the mail. If anybody's interested, reach out and I'll make that happen for sure. So we are carrying Kansas City Voices, and the most recent issue is awesome. So.
And you, your bookshop is kind of connected with Mills Records, is that right? I know you have a stand in the shop where you pair some books with music, with albums.
Right. Yeah.
So cool, I think.
Yeah. So that's what right now we're kind of all of the operations are sort of headquartered over at Mills right now. So I manage and am a record buyer over there as well. So we're kind of consolidating both of those businesses into sort of its own kind of like mail order business right now, sort of doing the best we can. It's nothing close to being open to the public, but kind of being able to have both the music and the books going has been, it's been fun to sort of find new creative ways to keep engaged with the public and the community.
And you guys carry both new and used books, is that correct?
Yeah, we're doing new and used books. So we can we have I can order pretty much anything new that folks might be wanting to get in. It's interesting right now that we're having to change some of our strategies for ordering books, but I'm taking special orders and placing orders pretty much every day, like I said. And then our used inventory, we've been posting a lot through social media, Instagram and Facebook, etc. So you can kind of do some virtual book browsing, which is no real substitute for coming into a bookstore and digging through the shelves, but at the same time you can kind of see what some of the used inventory looks like in the shop right now. So.
Cool. We're going to have you kind of pop back in another for a couple more minutes later on, and if you have a couple books that you want to pull off the shelves or want to tell us about, poetry books preferably,
totally,
National Poetry Month, that would be great. So thank you for joining us. And I think our next reader is Piper Abernathy. Piper, are you there?
I'm here.
Great. Do you want to introduce yourself, and then we look forward to hearing.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lindsay and Whispering Prairie, for including me. This is a really nice way to spend a Sunday afternoon with other poets and voices and see friendly faces. So thanks for that. I am a teacher and writer, and I teach at the Pembroke Hill School in Kansas City. So I have been actually using this time as a respite to write also. I couldn't write for the first 3 weeks or so I was home. And then I was showering one day, and the old noggin got hot and lines started coming. So anyway, I thought I'd read a couple new pieces. I've already jumped ahead though. This one's called After COVID-19. People never heard "We'll be in touch" the same way. They wore bleach like teenage cologne. They held their breath and wept at one another's tweets. They ate their coughs for lunch. They forgot their specific love of the clock. They practiced distance with new people. They drove to work, and then they would retreat. They were good at cooking sauces for spoiling meat. They knew every punchline, every punchline. They made themselves masks that matched their hashtag mood. They held their children longer in the photos. They held their parents linger in the photos. They wondered where the content went. They bought teachers a nice candle. They applauded physicians for a year and grew gardens full of patience. They asked for better ply and demanded daily briefs. They grew into their asses. They stuck with drive-through masses. People were the poison on the streets.
Wow.
And then this one is, I follow a poet, Sam Sachs, on Twitter, and I don't know, maybe 2 weeks ago, he put up a first line of a poem as a challenge, sort of. And so I ended up using it as the title when all was said and done. So anyway, this is after Sam Sachs's prompt. So his line is, "Meanwhile on Earth." Meanwhile on Earth, we scour our bathroom hearts, insisting we be spared. Flush with fever and belief. The bleach doesn't burn. We swallow our tongues to keep them from touching. Lungs collapse like towers, singed sacks flattened like smashed birds, useless to the air. We take off the gloves in our mad scratch. Throats choke words to the most primitive sounds, and only cavemen discern the nuance in our grunting fear. Meanwhile, on Earth, we rented all we thought we bought, and now the bill is here. Is that time?
Yeah, I think that's. I mean, if you have one more poem to read, please.
Okay, I got one more.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Thinking of Elliot, I'll read this one. This is, I've been thinking about different kinds of stocks, mostly because I'm cooking. So this is "Hit me with your best stock." So now there's time. Take stock of the minutia of day in and out, how time breathes our air with such ease. Eat the plummets in the market, so quick and so cold. I come from good. My mom says Mayflower, so it's understood. My boat is sinking. I'm made of wood. I know nothing depends on us. We don't glisten with rainwater. Listen, I took it. The future, advice, toiletries, chicken soup, better weather. I took it, the whole thing. Lock, stock, and barreling toward a whimper and a bang. Thank you.
Nice. Thank you so much, Piper. Please stay on and still listen. We'll have you mute yourself, and then we'll carry on. So our next reader is our treasurer, Tom Sullivan, and he is going to read some poetry and also tell you again that Kansas City Voices magazine, the new volume, just came out in March, and we are really excited about this. You're welcome to purchase this. There's a shop button on Facebook and through our website. And we are a nonprofit press, so we're raising funds so that we can publish our next volume of Kansas City Voices and Kansas City Voices Youth. So
we have these on hand as well. These came out last summer. This is volume 2 of KC Voices Youth. We take high school students' work. There's some really great, bright, and interesting stuff we're finding from our teenage writers and artists. So I'm Tom. I've been hunkered down here at home with the family for a few weeks now. We have a 2-year-old daughter, my wife and I, and so three of us. She has a 9-to-5 job and has been working here in my usual workspace. I'm a freelance editor, and so I work from home all the time, self-employed. And so my work hasn't changed that much, except for the fact that now I'm taking care of daycare as kind of the primary caregiver with a 2-year-old, and then squeezing in my work in the evenings and weekends as I can. So I'm happy for you all who are getting writing retreats. I feel like I'm just working overtime. But great, I think great new material is coming to mind as I'm working through this period, and I think soon there will be writing. I do have a poem that I'll share here, and then I'll have another couple of words about the organization and how it works and what it's all about. But so beyond childcare and trying to get through the work for my clients, I've been doing a fair amount of working in the garden. It's something I can do where, just let my daughter outside for a while and I go work in the garden and keep an eye on her. And this is one I wrote a couple of summers ago about gardening, and it feels timely. I think the subtitle will also, it's a surprise layer of timeliness. So this is Surprise in the Garden, or How to Get Sunshine on the Inside. Surveying my weed-invaded garden, I note the disheveled, overgrown rows. Nothing horrendous or unusual here, just the fruits of rains and inattention. When I don't need to water, not much gets done. Grass has popped up between the rows, and vines of honeysuckle and milkweed entwine the fences and plants seeking the sun. It's been a couple of days now since the rain, but it's still damp, a clammy sort of cool I'd expect in November, not August. Tomatoes strain 2 small cages and stakes. There's lots of fruit today, but mostly green. The broccoli has blown, stretching up high, and the collard bristles spreading out wide while pumpkin vines pile up over the fence. I gather ripe pumpkins, poking their rinds to check each one to see if it's firm yet. 11 bright, hard gourds beam in the sun. I'm looking over the bug-eaten one, and one whose vine died before it ripened. It caves in when I push, pale, pathetic. I'm reminded of projects half finished, opportunities missed, connections lost, thoughts that got loose while searching for a pen. Finally, I look over the green beans, which were planted late after one crop died. The leaves are full of holes, like cartoon cheese. I wonder that the plants have lived this way. But then I push some greens aside and see long, plump pods sheltered by a holey roof. The beans hang in bright green bunches, some curved, some straight, waiting for one who would look twice. I see the packets bristling with new life and feel it soak into me instantly, pushing up my cheeks and crinkling my eyes. What had been a glum day, sunny outside but overcast in my soul, was now changed. Sunshine on the inside as well as out. So yeah, I've been getting a lot of weeding in and chasing my daughter around. I've been really happy for the last few years to be volunteering with Whispering Prairie Press. I came on in 2016 and was the secretary for a while, and then became the interim president, and interim fell away, and I was president for a couple of years. We did manage to get a couple of magazines published during that time. I'm really happy now that Lindsay's become the president. I feel like she brings a lot of good things to the table for us. And it was a good time for me to move to working on the kind of more of the behind the scenes matters, as now I'm the treasurer. So we have routinely needs for people who want to help out with intermittent projects or help out with events and things, but of course also board members are a thing that we always are looking for good candidates for that kind of a role. So we have 2 boards. We have an executive board and an editorial board, and the executive board makes the major decisions. We have officers in that board, the president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and also members at large. And it's we meet on a regular basis most months and get together now virtually, which actually is proving to be really convenient now that we're getting used to it. We figure out what we're going to do, get things planned out, divvy up the tasks that need to be done. We have the editorial board as well, which gets together to do the read through and evaluate all the submissions we get, and make decisions and help get the actual magazines published. We have the 2 projects, Kansas City Voices and Casey Voices Youth, and currently. And of course, we're working on new ideas all the time to see if there's something that we have enough interest and manpower to get done. So
Thank you, Tom. Thanks for sharing and for telling us all about your your life there and your participation in the magazine. So I think we have another poet who is going to join us, but she is driving now on her way back from Oklahoma. But she has shared a poem that I'm going to read on my phone. That's the lovely wolf. So her name is Radhika Gupta, and she lives in Kansas City. She's actually the mother of one of my students who's been a really brilliant poet. So I'm going to read her poem. I believe it is called Citizenship, September 17th, 2012. As I walked out of my oath ceremony, where were the fireworks? Red, blue confetti falling from above. What about the drum roll and ringing bells? What happened to the birds, their fluttering wings and joyous chirps? The sweet green grass, pure happiness one could touch. I looked around for songs in the air. Lots of flags, cookies, chatter, and humming sounds, yet a solitude did surround. Had I changed much? Quite certainly in last decade or so. Last few hours? Really? The change, not sudden, I reflect. The loyalty switch, not just material, I hope. Perhaps a prized end of an enchanting dream. What started as a childlike wish, an infatuation perhaps, to touch the land of wondrous, more, where UFOs land and spaceships abound, a land to which I finally belong, a land of the free, I firmly believe, my land where I can be me. So I know that their family, I believe their family is from India. I'm not sure what part, but that was Radhika Gupta's poem. And now I'm going to read my poems. So I've been working on a series of pony poems this past year. It's kind of like when I was a middle schooler, I didn't have a pony. I did a little bit of riding with my family in Colorado at a ranch, but there's this wonderful longing that happens for a lot of preteen girls, and they just fall in love with horses. So I'm kind of experiencing that now, and so this is kind of a response to that. So I'm going to read a couple poems from that. This one is called Bats and Butterflies. Bats are just like butterflies, he said, holding one's black wings in his hands like charcoal, 'cause it can heat you up whenever you want, make you question the flap of a pair of wings and the power they could have to change you. Yeah, butterflies might be blue or yellow or red-orange, but a rainbow coming from a star-flecked sky, incandescent and sheltering in warm rock caves, is so much more enticing. Even when you duck out of the way and play breath tunes, the water can lap your undersides and keep you steady for change. I still like butterflies, she said, as they tickled her bare back and danced between strings and ropes and long locks brushing back. Rainbows from a light cloud sky and sweetness like good honey, even before it hits the tongue. Fingers on keys, feet on wood, and cool bone words that meet the clear air. It's like apples for ponies and sunshine for deer. And when the day's done, or just begun, hoofprints leave dust marks in the sky. So that was kind of the beginning of the pony poem era. And now I'm going to read one more pony poem. This is called Ponies Coming. It's a beautiful day here in Kansas, and rounding the bend of Midwest highways, you're on your way. Oh, pony, how glorious it's going to be to see your long legs, your flapping mane, your big, broad perfection. More to sense your beating heart under that curve of muscle, under that velvet pelt. I'll be leaning up against the barn when you get here, tilting my hat to keep the sun out of my eyes. I'll be breathing cool and slow, trying to hold my racing nerves close to my chest. Being in your presence is both gonna tickle my senses and light little fears. You're only so many hands tall, but your vigor is vast and wide. I want to show you the light that I have for you only. Maybe I'll get to lead you out of the trailer. Maybe I'll get to brush and braid your mane. I'll keep my tears minimal. Really, they're tears of joy for finally seeing you again after 6 long months. I know I'll need to side shuffle and blink. Maybe when you sense this in me, you'll come closer, bend your great big head, and press your muzzle and quivery lips to make me smile. So sometimes we miss things in this time, you know, and it's a little bit hard to be alone and not with the people that we care about. So that kind of felt a little bit like that. And then, you know, I was listening to what Piper was saying about writing in this time, and I've only done a little bit of writing, and here's one that kind of came out. So this is one that I'd like to share. I think right now it's called This Virus. This virus, its crown-headed, non-decipherable brashness can only do so much. We say that 1 million people have it now. Have it, live with it, or it overtakes them. It is nothing that cannot break barriers of nation, of age, of sex, of race. It is something we bar ourselves from nonetheless, stopping all skin contact, creating distance and more, creating fear and the need for more, hospital beds, test kits, ventilators, toilet paper. Sentient beings are supposed to be luminous, but when breath is taken, we cannot remain connected. O Buddha, O Jesus, O Mother of the skies, how do you stay on high and keep shining, even without a body? Is it a lack of fear of transformation, a lack of worry about leaving? What do we ask ourselves when there are so many things we still want to do, to see, to feel, and be? So that's what I've got. Yeah, Piper, that's a good one. We can do that. Thank you for listening. And now we have Marsha Hurlow, who is our vice president. She's going to take us into other worlds, I think, with her poetry. Marsha, are you ready? You have to unmute yourself first.
I am.
There you go.
Okay, hey. Actually, they connect a bit with the first one that Kais read. A little cosmic. So I'm going to read 3. First one's the longest one, so if you can hold on through that, you're in business. But I just happened to have it there when we were practicing earlier, and it did seem to connect, because we've been thinking about what is real, what is true, what is not true, and also spending a lot of time in grocery stores, which again came up in Kais's poem. This is titled, Aliens Are Intercepting My Brainwaves. And it starts in a grocery store. This eggplant glistens, purple satin. The tomatoes, the grapefruit, the unripe bananas gather beautifully in my cart. But the star captures my thoughts. A woman just like me is feeding secrets to space aliens. She can't help it. They're intercepting her brainwaves from their rocket on Venus. She can't sleep for fear of what her dreams might reveal. Every day, her brainwaves grow weaker. She looks like the living dead. The Inquirer reports on twin girls in the Brazilian jungle. Blind, speechless, they play their sibling games by brainwaves. There are photos. The girls dress in skins of giant otters, big as a man. They hold hands in the tall grass and offer me tropical flowers, petals long and thick as hot dogs. Investigators found that Etana and Amara taught each other constellations, predicted eclipses and phases of the moon. Last night, the quarter moon was dim when Joe and I walked home from Mother's. Old hippies believe the shimmering lights on Mount Shasta are aliens working, he said. Maybe, I thought, it's gas or car lights bouncing off the mica on the mountains near I-5. He said some force draws people to that dead volcano and soon it will explode. A circle of fire and every star will turn black. Then a shape flashed through the sky with two lights, dull yellow, pinned to the tips of its wings. Aliens, he insisted. Don't say anything else. Go in, draw what you saw real careful. First thing tomorrow, we'll compare my sketch with yours. See what that thing was. I drew with skill, with accuracy I'd never had. Each color and curve came as clearly as if I'd been at the cold, silvery field when the two crewmen boarded. Velvety stairs rolled up behind them, and they left me behind. Sometime before dawn, I knew it was a trick. How many illusions does it take to make the truth? Somehow Joe, my dominant twin, had told me what the spaceship looked like, what to draw. In the morning paper was a photo of the stealth bomber and an earlier artist rendering, probably closer to reality. Yes, surely closer to what I had seen than what Joe wanted me to draw. I copied it carefully. At breakfast, in Joe's drawing, I saw the three spacemen beckon me aboard.
Watch out for UFOs at this time too. You want to read another one for us, Marsha?
I got two more.
Okay.
The next one's called Maps. Just before we moved to Kansas, my mother passed away from Alzheimer's, complications with that. And as those of you who've maybe taken care of older relatives who've been through that, you're constantly looking for something to redeem this disease. So that's what we're doing right now. It's titled Maps, and it again takes place in a kitchen. Be careful what you love. My mother loved maps. She loved tracing the blue lines, the red lines, looking up the cities that bloomed on those stems. She loved to find their music, recipes for food whose spices never existed at her grocery. She loved Dad's stories of towns he'd seen in Europe. Even blighted by war, they were lovely on maps, though she'd never fly there. She'd never fly to a single one of those gold circles ornate as Greek myths. And as maps of neurons crossed and disappeared with age, she forgot the map of her hometown that got her to her sister's house, brought her milk and bread. Off that shrinking grid were storms and monsters. As we talked in her yellow kitchen, the snow gathered like nests and branches of the maples, the buzz of a dying bulb above us. I asked about her trips to California, Nevada, and a week in downtown Cleveland. What a small map to travel compared to her dreams. So this is what love does. Reshapes thought, the last synapses of memory. She leaned in, confided that on the way to Paris, she and Dad had landed in London just to say they'd been there. Okay. And then the last one, put us in a different mood, I hope. It's for you guys who used to watch Saturday morning cartoons when they were a little different from Little Ponies. And okay. It's called To What Do You Attribute the Longevity of Your Marriage? So, and I should say we're starting in the living room where a lot of us are sitting around these days. So we're having an argument about politics, common in our 42 years of marriage, and our car's off the road, off the crumbling cliff, and into the cumulus and robin eggs, half a mile before we notice, and only then do we plummet. The parachute of my pink sunbonnet slows us. Down we rock like that tree-top cradle until an Acme rocket shoots a hole like a heart and shatters our target. A bridge over a mad river complete with whirlpools to hell. See those red-tailed devils, pitchforks poised to pop our tires, when Daffy Duck lands on our hood. Despite our warnings with dingbats aplenty, he dons a top hat, does a tap dance with spats, cane, full orchestration, which shifts the trajectory of our Chevy to the 6 lanes of mayhem, and we try to recall whose turn it was to pay the car insurance, the life insurance, and boing, here we are on a shiny Acme mattress truck. We have a big face-sucking kiss so we don't notice the dark tunnel. Oh, suffering succotash, heavens to Murgatroyd, that sloughs us off to a desert where we hang on matching arms of a cactus and vultures discuss the proper spices for such aged specimens when, as you expected, the roadrunner beeps and coyotes' pinwheel legs spin up enough turbulence to blow the birds off screen and us back to this couch watching Saturday morning TV.
Thank you, Marcia. That's really good. So again, we're here, Whispering Prairie Press, and we are excited to have all these wonderful people together. This makes me feel happy, our community of poets. We have a new volume, volume 15 of Kansas City Voices magazine. You can purchase it through our website, wppress.org, and also on Facebook, there's a shop button, and it takes you straight to our website. We also have volume 2 of Kansas City Voices Youth magazine and older volumes that you can purchase as well. And let's see, so we're going to try our music again. So during this time, readers, if you, I wanted to say we do have a couple readers that are in our volume 15 that are coming up here. So please stay tuned for that. Grab a drink, have some vitamin C, hand sanitize your hands, and we're going to see if we can listen to some music with Riley. Riley, are you there? Can you hear us? You need to unmute and so
yeah, yes, we have.
Oh, great! Hey guys.
in beer, maybe some beer, not ours.
Okay, I'm gonna go get some too. So please play some music. Tell us about you.
I'm Riley Voth. This is Sarah Preston, my wonderful fiance. Right? Anyway, so we're going to play a few little numbers here. I also have been working with a music charity. It's called Coda Music Foundation. And the idea is to repurpose unused instruments. And any musician can tell you we all have at least something that we're not using. It could be as simple as just a guitar pick. But anyway, so I've been working with developing that. We're kind of putting stuff together in Topeka right now, but definitely in Kansas City, we will plan on having a presence here by the end of the year. So with that, I'm going to do a little Jeff Buckley here. Lost myself on a cold night. Gave myself in that misty light. Was hypnotized by a strange delight. Under a tree, I made wine from the lilac tree. Put my heart in its recipe. It makes me see what I want to see and be what I want to be. When I think more than I want to think, do things I never should do. I drink much more than I ought to drink, because it brings me back to you. Lilac wine is sweet and heady like my love. Lilac wine, I'm ready for my love. Listen to me, I cannot see clearly. Is that she, or am I going crazy? Lilac wine is sweet and heady. Where's my love? Lilac wine, I feel unsteady. Where's my love? Listen to me. That she, am I going crazy? Lilac wine is sweet and pretty. Where's my love? Feel unready.
Yay! Thank you. Thank you both. That was really, really lovely. Yeah, lilac wine. Wow. I've gotten a beer. I drink Lone Star. It's a Texas beer. It matches my hat. So Riley, we're going to switch now to, we have another poet here who's joined us. If you can stick around and play another in a little bit, that would be great. So our next poet is Mary Silwens. Mary, are you with us? We would love to hear some of your poetry if you want to unmute yourself.
Am I unmuted?
Yeah, please.
Right.
Hi.
Okay. No, 1 second. Technical difficulties. All right. Hello, thanks for this opportunity. This first poem I wrote after the El Paso shootings. Unbearable witness. I listened to the victims' names while driving my daughter to cheer practice, and I begin to weep. It is rush hour. I jockey through orange cones and potholes and think of the freshly orphaned 2-month-old whose name I have already forgotten. Because the news switched to another story, because I do not know the family, because I have to make dinner, because I cannot be pierced again by pain that is not mine. And yet, how is it not mine? Their spilled blood and broken bodies pour out of democracy now while I drink in our everyday vulnerability and sudden goneness. Does this not count as communion done in remembrance of them? I cannot hold both, this intimacy and remove from the world's wounding. I am not wired to scroll through a child's blood, staining sidewalk than a puppy frolicking on another patch of pavement. I am frail, barely managing to love enough those with whom I share bread and laughter. That's pretty much how I feel these days listening to Democracy Now! Another poem with a similar theme about a friend. My friend Gabrielle taunts death. Late night, when he can't sleep, Gabrielle gets in his car and drives with his eyes closed, sometimes on the highway. Once he crashed into a bridge barrier. His airbag activated. He opened his eyes. When he can sleep, death visits, whispers lullabies in his ear. Your tia Rosa will die next month. Your amigo Juan will be tortured. Your daughter's baby will not come to term. Sometimes death mocks him with memories. Here is Gabrielle at 12, marching with schoolmates against the regime as soldiers make fireworks of their narrow, hairless bodies. Here is his sister with the bullet hole through her head. Outside on the shoulder, waiting for the tow truck in the starless night, Gabrielle taunts death, thrusts his hips, shouting, laughing, I fucked you, muerte, I fucked you. Sometimes it would be nice to say that to death. When I think about, so I read those two because I think about structures and systems that create these situations. And that's what this next poem is about. I wrote it after traveling abroad and visiting museums. Eyes fixed. We trail a fuchsia umbrella, the museum guide bearing a beacon for her brood. Herded, we are gape-mouthed in khakis and keens, slouched in backpacks, sporting water bottles and trail mix, as if dehydration and starvation are ever imminent for the likes of us. Wired and umbilicus streams to our ravenous ears, our minds abuzz with what once was. We scramble to reassemble the scattered Jenga of sophomore and Western civ, machinations, military and political, multiple choice, country of choice. We marvel at feats on placards dutifully read, hero and battle detailed, erections ensconced in Ionic, Doric, and the other one. Architecture 2, by and for victors, the gilded throne, filigreed crown, alabaster footstool, the table with ivory inlaid. Each country waves opulence like a flag. Herded now outside to sidestep with our not so keen seeing the cow or donkey or camel dung, goats or mangy dogs, and unairbrushed UNICEF children in real time pressing purses and postcards against our pressed khakis as the word overpopulation pops into our Western minds. We trail through throngs of khaki skin and grime, inlaid by centuries of machinations, military and political, multiple choice, country of choice, eyes fixed on fuchsia. I'm going to read a poem now about my favorite bird, and you'll see how it's connected in a minute, hopefully. Of being. I love the way they kettle overhead, scenting and seeing what is there, but keen and dive only for what is theirs. They do not rise glorious like a phoenix with mythic feathers to preen. No, they thrust instead into what is putrid, guzzle, decay, feast on disease, savor, sinew, muscle, fat, flesh, make together communion from rot. For this is what awake is, meticulous release from injury, frailty, and the absolute gravity of time. Lovers of bone, they reveal the sturdy light vessel of being as altar. They will then glide on thermals, wings spread, rising, 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 heads thrown back, eyelids closed to our revulsion as they near the caressing sun. I hope during this time we're examining the rot that has created our global crises. So now something a little bit light. I want to share my experience with yoga. Monkey mind. Slapped Sanuk flips up 3 flights, worn wooden steps, lavender mat tucked under arm, its shredded tire smell faint under Nag Champa fog. Denied the wedgie in my Lululemon pants because Align is their $90 name. Prayer hands to heart. Do I look serene? I strive to look arrived, but I crave French fries and fear vaginal farts. Other yogis balance on manicured pinkies, glisten, breathe quietly, smile even. I snort, queef, sweat, my mantra, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, steadies my breath. Finally, Shavasana, stretched in corpse pose, inhaling Bon Iver, I glare at the cloudless sky, trapped in exposed brick color of raw beef. Our teacher, Gumby, voice satiny from weekend trainings, instructs us to imagine our bodies melting into the welcoming earth's warm embrace. I picture my body where it is, goose-pimpled, ashy flesh and hard white bone dissolving beyond the studio floor into the tattoo shop beneath, oozing through the street-level juice bar, maybe even dripping down to a stone basement before I hit dirt. So much melting, and I am already unsubstantial. And I've got one more poem to share with you, if I have time.
Yeah, one more would be good. And
okay,
thank you.
I wrote this poem after a storm, a winter storm. It's called Troost Aldi. Wrestling a stubborn cart through automatic doors, this refrain meets me. I'm gonna take my meds, y'all. I'm gonna take my meds. While I wander aisles, dropping what I don't need into the cart, his voice weaves through the packed store. I'm gonna take my meds, y'all. I'm gonna take my meds. An impending blizzard detours us here. 3 uniformed kids step on each other's heels, trailing their dad. A suited woman attends her list and a conference call on speaker. I'm gonna take my meds, y'all. I'm gonna take my meds. Sidestepping a family reunion in produce, he frenzies toward the refrigerators, nothing in his hands. I'm gonna take my meds, y'all. I'm gonna take my meds. As he zigzags to the front, people avert contact and then stare, occupied with paying and bagging. I'm gonna take my meds, y'all. I'm gonna take my meds. Lines stretch midway down each aisle. College students in pajama pants shift cardboard boxes from bony hip to bony hip. I'm gonna take my meds, y'all. I'm gonna take my meds. Without breaking her conveyor belt rhythm, the clerk's voice cuts through the chatter. You waiting on the bus? He crumples into a plastic chair by the door, cradles his gray head on the blue Formica counter. I don't want nobody to get upset, so I'm gonna take my medicine. The red-faced security guard looks pensive, as though he's supposed to do something. The clerk's voice comes out again slow, real gentle-like. All right, baby. A caress. We exhale, realize we were holding our breath. May we be this gentle with each other during this time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mary. That was really powerful.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that this time brings up, you know, with emotions, and it's good for us all to feel it. And so thanks for bringing us to.
Yeah, thank you.
Next we have someone who is in our magazine, the next volume. I'm really excited about her joining us today, Brittany Smart. If you are here and are ready to read.
Yes, I'm here. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah, we can. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for this. I'm a PhD student at the University of Louisville in Kentucky, and I'm getting my PhD in rhetoric and composition, but I still love poetry, so I write a lot of poetry. So I've been writing a lot about the COVID crisis. I've gotten a lot of inspiration from that. And I'm still trying to draw on this connection I have to nature. So a lot of my poetry is inspired by what I see outside and in my walks, things like that. So the first couple of poems are about the crisis, and then I'll try to end on a positive note. So the first one is called The Kingfisher. Beak bent toward the water, wings poised upward, thrusting. The picture captures the bird in stillness before breaking the surface tension. That was us ringing in the new year at the dive bar downtown, sharing shots of vodka, kissing each other, sweating and dancing with strangers. Everything now is through your apartment windows. There are parked cars, walls of red brick, a woman and her child crying, another cloudy sky. Textbooks on medicine, mandalas, African violets, and World War II planes mark this as yours, not mine. The bird dips its face gently under the water and then surfaces, still without a fish. Okay, and then, so the next one, like I said, is still inspired by things I'm seeing outside, but then I'm connecting them to memories I've had in the past year with traveling. It's called Open Casket. The corpse of a small bird lies in front of our stoop. Each time we take a walk, we take care to sidestep it, past the white bones, the exposed rib cage. In Italy, there are so many bodies that they cannot hold funerals, yet they still sing from balconies. And I remember my mother as she wept for Christ inside Santa Maria Maggiore Basilica, golden with images of Mary, the ceilings vaulted upward to make us feel small, human. Yesterday, we went to the park, drank the sunshine, golden on our faces. The birds, watching us from the trees, still sang from their perches. A moment passed, and we forgot about the bodies, let ourselves hold hands, and closed our eyes. And then this last one is personal to me. My grandma currently is in the hospital due to complications from COVID, so this is kind of about that. It's called Internal Medicine. Digging into the dark soil, running her fingernails underneath the dying red oak, she finds its thick roots, dry, scratched. The tree won't see another summer. Sore from coughing, their throats stretch to fill their lungs, gasping for oxygen under ventilators, roots expanding and contracting as the disease spreads inside their vessels. The fungus, the wilt, crawls through fresh wounds, balloons the sapwood, foils the flow of fluid, and withers the leaves while the sap beetles feed. Together, we separate ourselves from family and friends for safety. My grandmother lies in a hospital, bed alone, pale and blood weary. And then this last one was actually written before everything. And it's a little happier. It's me sitting with nature and listening to crickets. So it's called Listen. Hear the blade ridges scraping together, singing, skating over slush, a she calling over to a he. Trust the earth to hold, the lake to be deep, the arms to catch. With ears to our lovers' bellies, we come to know longing, clear wingless drumming, the songs of crickets by the creek. And that's it. Thank y'all.
Thank you so much, Brittany. It's really cool to, it's really cool to have a voice to the poems. So as I was saying, Brittany is in our current volume, and we really appreciate you joining us today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next reader is John Harold, and he is also in this volume of Kansas City Voices. John, are you with us? You ready to read?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. Thanks. Hi, thanks for joining us.
Oh, this is wonderful. This is amazing. Thank you. I'm going to read two poems. The first one is called When. But before I even do that, I want to say where I'm from. I'm in Duluth, Minnesota right now. And there are no leaves on any trees. But so it looks a little dark in this room, but it's really a gorgeous day out there. So in this volume is When. It's my thoughts about where we might be going emotionally and morally as we seem to accept the conditions of climate change. Even though we might speak out against it, we seem to be living with it. So when forest fires leave cities in ashes, can we have breakfast with that good whiskey we've been saving? When respiratory masks are worn every day, do we finally get to wear expensive jewelry too? When rains become rivers through downtown, we'll ride to the top floor for dinner, right? When fire tornadoes burn their way across the prairie, will we binge on Westerns and reminisce? When Arctic villages pack themselves to higher ground, can we still fly over to look for polar bear? When hurricanes obliterate communities, should we buy up the empty lots? When temperance and justice comb through the garbage in an alley, then do we grab the neighbor's crotch? Then do we bang our face on the mirror? Then do we hug ourselves moaning and rocking, thanking God we get to pass on early? And one other poem on the brighter side. This is called Good Morning, Glory. Good morning, Glory. Glory, it's morning again. And again, I say good to you for this day opening from perfect quiet of dark into not yet sun, with first birdsong nodding yes, yes to this day's dayburst of new morning rabbits glory hopping, of early squirreling up down around stage tree trunks, and the now light is sun touching every stone, green stem and leafy sound of air caressing this flower of morning, and the mingling of wispy cloud lightness with pungence of soil, trickle of creek and butterflies, each itself a morning of blossom to blossom with to hardy milkweed, my glory, with big-eyed dragonflies on white petal daisies, purple fireweed, blue lupins and red clover, this morning exhausting happily into another good day again, I say morning. So thank you very much.
John, thank you so much for joining us and for reading your poems today. We really appreciate it. And again, it's nice to put a voice and a face to the poems. So John's in this volume, and just to let you all know again, we are selling this volume. I have plenty here that I can send out to you in the mail. So please feel free to go to our website, wppress.org, or on Facebook, there's a shop button, and it will take you to our website, and you can purchase these as well as Kansas City Voices Youth and also previous volumes. They are 15 each, I think. And they're also available at Wise Blood Bookshop, and they're going to be back and talking a little bit about that too, their shop and how they're operating. So we have another poet now. Lindsay Wisher is joining us, and she is also in the magazine too. Lindsay, can you hear me? Are you ready to read?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, please go ahead. Thanks for joining us.
Well, first, I just want to say this is delightful, and I thank you, Lindsay, for organizing this and for everyone else who is involved with Kansas City Voices. It's been so lovely to hear you all, so thank you. I just have two that I want to share with you. The first is the one that's in the book. This one is called Evidence of Things Not Seen. It has, the title is taken from Hebrews 11:1. I don't really like winter, but this was a happy memory from winter pre-social distancing, so a couple of years ago actually. And so I'm gonna jump onto that now. Okay. Evidence of Things Not Seen. This takes place at Mana Bar, which in Kansas City is an exotic beverage lounge with kombucha and things like that. Okay. Snow in April, a slow manna swirled into our hair, and how it surprised us as we pushed open the heavy doors of the church that Sunday. The 9 a.m. sky was an unpainted canvas, gave no notice of its 10 a.m. plans of coat shoulders to be dusted in a thin lace. As was tradition, my roommate Sarah and I relocated to the picture window at Mana, the only customers that morning. Cups of coconut hot chocolate nestled between our fingers, we witnessed Old Westport Road transfigured by the silent, ceaseless falling. On returning to our apartment, I, who for so long had been steeped in a snow of student papers, stopped in the small courtyard between apartments, watched the white drift through a square of open roof. For a moment, I was a monastic, baptized in the realization that for all the times I had walked through winter asleep, this spring snow was waking me with hundreds of kisses. Wonder flung at me in the flurry, twirled me as I looked up into an inscrutable sky. Snowflakes, small and smooth as opals, caught in my coat, and I felt precious to someone. That's the first one. I know we've been asking about writing, and I really haven't been doing a lot. For all who are struggling with mental health, do know that you're in my thoughts right now. It is hard right now. And so this one I did write relatively recently. Around Easter, I was really feeling the lack of community. I'm Catholic, and there's some really beautiful liturgies near Easter, and so I've been live streaming them. And so this one takes place on the Saturday before Easter, the Easter Vigil. It's a beautiful liturgy, and so I have borrowed kind of the lines of a prayer called the Exultet. So you'll hear like, this is the night, this is the night, this is the night, and that's borrowed from that. I've really been thinking about how all spaces are merging right now. I feel that prayer space and workspace and home space are all one. And so I'm trying to come to terms with that. And so that's what this poem is about. Okay, so Vigil. This is the night where living space becomes prayer space, becomes silent and dark space. This is the night where small streams of incense lick at the air and find it taut with storm. This is the night where the scent of frankincense and myrrh tangles with my curls, lingers long after liturgy ends. This is the night where love seat becomes pew, yoga mat, kneeler, where television imparts sacrament. This is the night we carry birthday candles and egg carton dimples, and thunder and lightning break over 7 readings and 7 psalms. This is the night heaven weds earth and the floors rumble. And suddenly, flood of day longer than a flash of half-light. This is the night when after the readings, house becomes illumination, every switch flipped on as if we were on the other side of the screen. This is the night when altar is a series of side tables and mismatched chairs holding beeswax candles, superglue, mason jars filled with water. In lieu of flowers at the altar, we talk of front yard tulips, pour creme de violette over vanilla ice cream, drink sipping chocolate from Christmas spode. This is the night when heaven enters our isolation and shatters it, where the cross-stitch of my being is revealed to be not merely clusters of multicolored knots, but pattern, tree and root, bee and flower, self a wedding of order and disorder, raspberry jam and bitter herbs. And for the constant wind that rocks this night, for the anxieties that rise again with him, this is the night I realize that it is good. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay, for reading to us. It was kind of just very lulling and beautiful. This is kind of moving me, this experience, all of us together and all of our powerful words are really, it's really moving. And I think that's good. We have another poet, Jermaine Thompson is with us. Jermaine, can you hear me? Are you ready to read too?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I think we can hear you.
Okay. I am Jermaine Thompson. I am also an employee at Pembroke Hill Upper School. I teach English there. MFA from UMKC in 2015. I'm going to share 2 poems. One is older. One is like today. All right. So the old one first. So where I'm from, it's called Self-Portrait with No Flag, after Safia and Hilo. I pledge allegiance to my mama's hamburger casserole, to Route 2, Box 262B, to fried bologna with burnt edges, to chitlin funk on New Year's, to blackberry syrup and salmon croquette, to Western oil on Friday nights, gurgling, to green onions and wang dang doodle. I pledge allegiance to spades hands, to 4 and a possible, to running Boston, to getting set, to Aunt Tootie's red velvet cake. I pledge allegiance to St. James Presbyterian, to the Blue Hymn Book and the Song of Zion. I pledge allegiance to my daddy's 1992 Mazda 2200, to the cassette of Rick James' greatest hits he kept in the tape deck, and to T.T. Jack loud talking the thrill out the double. Yes, I am feeling some type of way, like we got static, and to be honest, I don't like the way you fix your mouth when you say black. It's too often at the margins, too often lined in chalk, too often preceded by viewer discretion advised. So I choose to play That's My Car through the school bus window. I choose aunties named Lucille and Opaline, Odessa and Johnny Pearl, unshakable nicknames like Putt, Frog, Tay-Tay, Coonfoot, Moochie. I pledge allegiance to not knowing government names until they are printed on the obituary. I pledge allegiance to summers catching purple-winged butterflies, the practical science of feeding grasshoppers into anthills. I pledge allegiance to the Milky Way smeared across the black forehead of heaven, above the red clay hill, down Highway 25, because that's the country where I was born. Poem number 2 is kind of Corona inspired. I worked it out finally today. It's built around a line from Gwendolyn Brooks's kitchenette building. We are things of dry hours and the involuntary plan. It is a golden shovel. Those are the end words. So here is this new, fresh poem that needs lots of revision. Hell of a place to find ourselves, huh? And shouldn't we be proud that we made it here together? Big bang to upright, viral to virulence. Are we done calling democracy an experiment yet? What have we learned? What things and hours have we lengthened like belches? What spirits and savings emptied? What legends of the self rehearsed and centered? Another way to find ourselves, right? Dry, which is to want to believe that days before were wet with frolic and freedom, hours in a downpour of sandwich wrappers, big gulps, near collisions on off ramps. Purpose. And here we are, clever time, inconvenient, with room to muse cures for oppression, maybe the light, maybe clouds injected and broken right into the body. Sometimes healing is involuntary, like death, like taxes, like leftovers for dinner are the only certain plan.
Mm. Thank you so much, Jermaine. That was really beautiful.
Thank you.
I appreciate you being here with us. So now we have the Kansas Poet Laureate, Huascar Medina. We're really excited that he's joined. And I know, Lindsay and Jermaine and Huascar read at the Fountain Verse poetry event, and all three of them moved me with their poetry. So I was really excited to have them join us for this online event. Huascar, are you there?
Oh, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, great. What's up, Jermaine? Good to see you. Hey, how's everyone doing? I can't tell how many people are with us. I don't even know. You good? Okay.
There's people watching online too.
Oh, great. Wonderful. Jermaine can't be the only one sharing new work today, so I'm gonna share a couple of new pieces. I've been trying to write a piece a day for the month of April, and pardon me for disappearing. I'm standing up. I can't sit at home. That's not what I do. But this poem is one I wrote 2 days ago, and it's poem number 14 for the month of April. It's how to actually inject light into your body. Grab a stack of words arranged in rows like sediment. Make travel towards the trails where trees breathe freely. Look into the forest for permission before entering. A gust is not consent. Only assuages of breezes will allow you. Lay your garments down as offering, disrobe. All fabrics have divorced our souls from nature, including time. Ensure your feet are grounded to this earth. No boots, no shoes, no sandals, no socks allowed. Find a glade to trek to. Excuse yourself if you bump a leaf. Find a fallen tree as sitting space. Place a book upon its bark. Create a yawning in its text. Turn the pages further back. Read inside from true beginning. Allow each word to pierce you. Become transfixed with sentiment. Absorb all gleaming light, a tilt as you transcend unending awe. Expose yourself to the sacred order of things. Submit and be naked on the inside. So, thanks, appreciate it. It was raining the last couple of days, and I wrote a rain poem. I wrote a frog poem last night because there was a frog outside, and I was like, you know what, I'll share that one some other time. That one is not finished. But this poem is it's entitled Rain. Rain is a homeless river, lake, or ocean hitchhiking in the sky. Rain is a scattered waterfall, cliffless, spread out in search of land it lost. Rain is skydiving dewdrops, impatient before night falls. Rain is all the weight of hope uncarried by the clouds. Rain is the tick and tock of unwound clocks with no alarms. Rain is a flower baptismal. Rain is a heavenly spill. Rain is a song of remembrance. Rain is an infinite tapping of undeciphered and missing Morse code. Rain is privy to secrets. Rain is a handless drummer with infinite beats and endless set list. Rain is any note I wished I ever played. Rain is the echoes of writers typing away the day into night. So I'm gonna share some work from Umango Grows in Kansas, which is a book I have coming out May 1st. And again, I apologize for disappearing. So one of the poems I'm gonna read is from the Latino Book Review, where it was originally published. And some of the words in it are interesting. El Yunque is a jungle in Puerto Rico. And un brindis por ti, papa, is a toast to you, father. I like to share some of the language sometimes, because I think sometimes if we don't understand what an individual is saying, it can alienate them. And language is that barrier. So I'm playing with that a little bit in this collection as well. Coquis are small frogs from the island of Puerto Rico. And legend has it, they leave the island, they'll perish. Like they won't live, they can't survive off the island. And Jibaro is a peasant farmer. And peasant farmers are believed to be uneducated in Puerto Rico. They're descendants of the slaves. My father's father was a peasant farmer. He's a Jibaro. We own land in the mountains of Yabucoa. So I like to think we have peasant farmers here too, right? And we think of them as being simple and uneducated as well. Because of our prejudice to someone's working way of life, we tend to treat people differently. So this poem is called Mi Isla, my island. I ate a mango today. It was mostly green with reds and yellows. El Yunque at dawn is mostly green with reds and yellows. My homeland's enchanted, full of shady jungle mountains, gawking naked beaches, slowly necking ocean. There, the sea breezes through the palm trees and peeping coconuts faint from holding on too long in sand asleep, daydreaming of me. Tonight, un brindis por ti, papa. Let us pretend the crickets are drunken coquis de parranda, struggling with loss, singing in the wrong key, playing out of tune, unable to find their way home. Let us pretend we are surrounded by vacation, not work, that all is sweet is beach, and the above blue is ocean. Let us pretend you are watching me, ripe in a hammock's womb, strung to horizons with no ocean or beach sand near, nor fear that I've become landlocked here, surrounded by jibaros who don't like jibaros, still an island. See, doing good on time, so.
Yeah, if you got a couple more, that would be great.
Okay, great, wonderful. This poem's entitled Speaking in Tongues. I will hold private revivals. I will pray to anything holy for you. Whenever you walk in with all that salvation awaiting me, I swear to never hush the hallelujahs whispering in my soul. Oh Lord, I'd speak in silent tongues within her mouth if she'd listen, inhaling gospel after gospel, damning every bit of sin, washing away the guilt we once felt for creating heaven in a land where no one is innocent. Goddess, I just wanted to taste of Yahweh in your mouth, feel the warm forgiveness in your breath, baptize our unborn smiles, turn our lips into Quakers. There's nothing wrong with that. There was never wrong in that. God will understand. You know, it's times like these where we really start thinking about what matters to us. And I found myself in this collection writing a lot about the political climate, but then I found myself returning back to love and what that means to a person, because, you know, this collection is a search for home, and how home is more of a figurative place for me. And also found that wherever I have love is where I have home. So there's some love poems in this collection, and here's another one I'll share called Examples. If the moon shattered and fell out the sky, I would gather its shards build a mosaic of night so you may sleep and dream in peace. If the sun were to cool, I would dance ablaze in a dervish outside your window, so the birds would chirp in the light of false mornings, waking you with love songs. If the sea disappeared, I'd lay mirrors on an ocean bed near the coastline, so you could see the blue depths of my devotion and pick it up like sea glass whenever you choose. And if the wind were to stop, I'd whisper in your ear each day to remind you air can still move you. Do I have time for one more?
Yeah, please.
Okay. This one is How to Sage. And I don't know if some people are familiar with sage, but there's a lot of sage has a lot of definitions. But saging a home when you move into a place and in a place of clearing, and there's a lot of negativity in the air. And I think cleansing the air with sage is a beautiful thing. We call it smudging. So this poem is called How to Sage. It's kind of a love poem, but also thoughts on what losing someone might look like in the future, and how the loved ones who are with you today can help you in that experience. And I think a lot of us are experiencing grief right now. So for ourselves or for people we love who are experiencing losses. How to Sage. And it starts with a quote from Vogue magazine. It's an online article by Brooke Bob, August 22nd. She wrote it at 4 a.m. is when she published it. But it's, once you're ready to light your sage, grab the sage as far from the end you are burning as possible. I will always say sweet and silly things to you like, you are more charming than a room full of hummingbirds. I don't go to church, but know you are everything sacred after Genesis. You turn each day into Sunday. I trust you. We've met once, a long time ago, before the sun and moon were interrupted by the earth. I remember you. I was a freshman. You were a slant of light refracted, poured onto a wall which folded into a popcorn ceiling, a reflection from my burned CD, covered in colored Sharpie titled Love Songs Volume 1. In the future, there will come a night when you'll sneak into our bedroom and burn the sage from our garden. I'll be sleeping away the passing of my mother, dreaming in murmuration after the gusts swallow her ashes. One day, I too will be gone, and the hallowing of morning will trap the wind inside you. Birdie will notice, then ask if she may smudge. You'll say yes, to keep the window shut for a few more days so you and I can take our time, a proper Midwest goodbye.
Thank you so much, Huascar. We really, really appreciate you sharing.
Thank you.
That was really good. And we're probably all puddles of emotion now. Thank you all for being here. We want to invite Dylan from Wise Blood Bookshop to come back and tell us a little bit about what they're doing to keep books in people's hands during this time. Dylan, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, please tell us a little bit about Wise Blood and if you have some titles you wanted to share.
Totally. Yeah, so Wise Blood is a bookstore that just recently opened in Westport in Kansas City. So we're at 300 Westport Road, and we're a pretty young business, only been open for a few months when all of the stuff started kind of going on with the coronavirus, and it's been really interesting to sort of like change our strategies and just like work as hard as we can, being creative to continue building community and supplying books to the community in ways that we are kind of having to make up and improvise on the fly. So we're still doing shipping. We're shipping books every day and taking orders every day, placing orders, and also selling used books. there is a kind of like a virtual browsing set up on our Instagram and Facebook pages. So you can go to those social media outlets, and we're posting stuff daily that you can kind of purchase through those social media outlets. And we also we're kind of in the process of setting up our web store when all of this hits. So that's something that's still a work in progress, but you can purchase gift cards, and we're doing these things called boredom bundles, which is like a basically like a mystery package that's themed by genre. So you can buy like a $25 poetry bundle, for example, and we will hook you up with $25 worth of books, a combination of new and used books. So we're trying to find creative ways to let people support us right now when you can't actually come into the store and browse. And yeah, I actually did bring a couple poetry picks from our current stock. And the two books that I kind of have to talk about, the first one is Tracy Brimhall's new book. And so the book is called Come the Slumberless to the Land of Nod, and it's through Copper Canyon Press, just came out at the end of March, actually. And so Tracy is a poet that I met while I was at Kansas State University, and she teaches English creative writing there, and she's a really fantastic poet. And I really loved her work, and though I didn't study poetry there, that institution is super lucky to have her, and her new book is really, really fantastic, as well as her old one, Saudade, which is also a Copper Canyon book. And speaking of Kansas State, the other book that I was going to make a pick for is the Selected Poems of James Tate. James Tate, as a poet, was born in Kansas City and did his undergrad work at Kansas State. So it's not, he's not exclusively a Kansas City poet because he didn't stay here, but some of my favorite poems are in his Selected Poems, which is kind of just like a career spanning anthology of his stuff. And you can't get too much better than James Tate. So those are a couple books that I would recommend that we've got in stock right now. If you were to come into the store during Poetry Month, I probably would have had like a display up with some poetry picks, but alas, we have been closed to the public for the entirety of Poetry Month. But yeah, we are doing what we can to sort of stay engaged with the community and build community during this time. We're actually going to be doing a live stream poetry reading on May 9th. We just announced this was a reading that was originally scheduled to be an in-store reading that, of course, we had to switch around. And it's local poets, Ruth Williams, who teaches at William Jewell and has a book out. Jenny Molberg, whose book just came out through LSU Press this year. Refusal is the name of that book, really fantastic book. And then Charlotte Sine is the other poet that we'll be reading. And so we'll do that sort of like this, where we'll have a Zoom meeting that we'll stream in through Facebook and YouTube. So that'll be May 9th at 6:30.
That's really great. And I have been enjoying following Wise Blood, mostly through Instagram. You guys just keep us connected to the store and show us what's going on or what's in the windows. And that's been really enjoyable. So thank you for coming and joining us. And we wish you the best, and please everybody go buy books there. And also they are carrying our magazine, but we can send those out directly to you. Kansas City Voices magazine, volume 15, that came out in March. We are currently working on volume 16. We got 570 submissions, so we're in the process of reviewing those, and we're excited for that volume. We also have Kansas City Voices Youth Magazine. This is for Kansas City area high school students, and we just opened submissions for high school students to submit prose and poetry and art pieces. So if you know any kids, I think a couple of you know some high school students, please encourage them to submit their work. It's really meaningful for kids to have their work, met in the world these days, and with what's going on, to have some recognition and connection, I think is really valuable. So I'm really excited that you've all been here. I think we have Riley Voth, if he's still around. We're going to see if he can take us out with some music. Riley, are you here? Can you hear me? Let's see. Maybe. Riley, are you here? You might be outside or something because it's still beautiful. Oh, Riley, can you hear us? You want to play? You want to start playing a little bit? I see his guitar. I don't know if he can play. Can't hear you, Riley. So again, until Riley starts playing here, we're so happy that you all are with us, and we had a really good time. It was very meaningful to me. It kind of made me almost want to cry several times because just the power of words and the power of community and with a person. We'll do it this way too. Hey, Riley.
Can you hear?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
All right. Well, thank you, Lindsay, for putting this all together. Whispering Prairie Press. I look forward to meeting all the rest of the poets over there. I would not consider myself a poet at all, but I'm happy to be a part of this. I'd like to take a quick moment to relay a story about Huascar, one of my good friends from Topeka. So Huascar, this is the only example of anybody I've known that's ever done this. I told him I was working on a project. This was years ago, probably 5 years ago. A music project with Igor Stravinsky. And Huascar took some time, did some research on his own about Stravinsky. And next time I ran into him, we had a long conversation. I just couldn't believe it. So that is a talented individual right there, and I respect him dearly. So thank you also for getting on there. But anyway, we'll just do a little fun song Smelly and happy, that's the way it should be. Like a leaf into a tree so fine. All the times we had, I sing those songs so bad. Always smiling, never sad, so fine. I walked down the country lanes, I was singing a song in the garden. Get a wheel within the trees, so the mother nature by seeing me. Oh, the sun shines so bright on a waist darkest night. She's always right, so fine. Oh, and the beat so strong with so many loves go wrong. But I love go on and 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 on. Down the country lanes, I was singing a song in the garden. You know we were within the trees, there was all the lights that you made. La 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 woman now it ain't no more. Still breeze all around the world, the rain goes down and I cry out more. Oh, come on, now what you missing? Missing problems, big bones.
Think I am so appreciate so pure. Angels calling around my door all right. Oh, one thing spend my last life with you. Just find a life I knew so fine. When you're old and you have my things, and I won't ever gonna happen again. We'll go down the same old country roads. I've been singing songs in my Tony Lane.
Woohoo! I love that slide. Oh my gosh, that's my favorite sound. Thanks, Riley.
Thank you, Lynn.
Yeah, so everybody, you know, hang in there. Hang in there. It's 5 o'clock. Please enjoy yourselves and stay connected and keep writing and keep reading. And we'll do this again sometime.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank
Great.
you. Bye, everyone. Please visit us at Whispering Prairie Press. Ta-da! Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everybody leaving.